And we are back on the 0 hour. It is time for that segment we describe or refer to as breaking the news. Again, if you have a better name for it, let us know. But this is where Brad Herring and I, Brad being our executive producer, run down the news stories of the day and offer our thoughts. So, Brad, what's up?
Well, we're going to start off in foreign policy. We're going to start off in Afghanistan, where President Obama all but guaranteed that the war begun in George W. Bush's term is going to last into the next president's term, and that he will not fulfill a major campaign promise. The White House announced Thursday that the military will halt its scheduled withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. The war in Afghanistan has now lasted 14 years. The announcement to keep thousands of troops in the country appeared to be an acknowledgement that the Afghan forces are not able to hold off assaults from Taliban forces on their own, as we saw when the city of Kunduz fell not too long ago.
Kunduz, where we also saw a horrific bombing by U.S. forces of a hospital there, which is now leading to international calls that it be investigated as a potential war crime. Not the kind of thing we should be doing as a nation, not the kind of thing that reflects well on us. I will be doing an entire monologue on Afghanistan, so I will have more to say about that. But after 14 years, it's hard to say we would be rushing it if we were to leave it now. So
that is very true.
I will have more to say shortly.
All
what
right.
else?
Another kind of bombshell this week. They're calling it a second Edward Snowden. The Intercept, Glenn Greenwald's publication, has obtained documents from an anonymous whistleblower. These documents are reportedly files which disclose secrets from inside the U.S. government of the Pentagon's drone program. The documents allegedly show how and why the U.S. targets people for assassination in countries like Yemen and Somalia. A couple key takeaways, and these are based on Mother Jones' analysis of the data. The U.S. kills many people who are not military targets. There is a lack of surveillance drones, which makes the intelligence used to kill people less reliable. Awesome job, that. And President Obama signs off on each target personally, but does not know where or when they will happen. Amnesty International has called for congressional investigations based on the leaks, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I do too, and I may have more commentary on this story as well. But for now, let's say this. First of all, not only are a lot of people killed who are not targets, according to the data released, if I recall correctly, 90% of those killed are not targets. Certainly, wow. It's a very large number. And while, as one military expert has said of this story, while it may take out Al-Qaeda assets or whatever, it also creates enormous hostility to the United States. And there's something that happens to a nation and its leaders when they are performing extrajudicial killings on a weekly basis, looking down lists of names, including American citizens, and in at least one instance, and deciding who they will summarily kill is not good for the soul of a nation.
No, it's definitely not. Definitely not. So why don't we do something a little bit funnier? In a way, it's dark kind of funny. George W. Bush's other war in Iraq, the Republican National Committee pre-butted Tuesday's Democratic debate with a memo attacking candidate Hillary Clinton. I don't know if you saw this, but in the top takeaways section of the memo, it noted that Clinton has been consistently wrong about the war in Iraq. Okay? And from that party, that's funny. And that she, quote, voted to authorize the war in Iraq, which was devastating to her 2008 presidential bid, end quote. So she's attacking Hillary Clinton for voting for the war in Iraq started by Republicans.
Yeah, the idea of the Republican Party as an institution attacking Hillary Clinton or any Democratic candidate for agreeing with them, it does create, of course, the war in Iraq as a horror, and we should never treat it as anything but. However, it does need to be said that we now have the spectacle of saying that any candidate who agrees with the Republicans and went along with the request of a Republican president is thereby disqualified from seeking higher office. They should only apply that standard to their own candidates, and the Democrats would be nominated and elected by acclamation. It is crazy. You're right to point out the irony in that.
I wonder if they're thinking there's some kind of selective, or not even selective, but amnesia among the voting populace. They were the ones who were saying that the economy actually collapsed under Obama, which is one thing. They're saying the recovery, the Clinton recovery, actually happened under George W. Bush. So there's a lot of shifting narratives in here, and I wonder if this is a part of that.
Well, I guess so, but if Jeb Bush runs against Hillary Clinton and manages to blame her for his brother's war, that's going to be quite an accomplishment.
That will be impressive. So, as we mentioned, there was the first Democratic debate was this week, hosted in Las Vegas. Notable for many was who did not show up, Vice President Biden, still reportedly mulling a run for president. CNN, in fact, held a podium for him, just in case. And also notably absent was any substantial coverage of the issue of Social Security by CNN. In fact, Hillary Clinton had to bring the issue up for herself. Let's take a listen to that.
They are outrageously high.
Secretary Clinton, the question was not just about tuition, though. It was about Senator Sanders' plan to expand Social Security, to make Medicare available to all Americans. Is that something that you would support? And if not, why not?
Well, I fully support Social Security, and the most important fight we're going to have is defending it against continuing Republican efforts to privatize it. I want to enhance the benefits for the poorest recipients of Social Security. We have a lot of women on Social Security, particularly widowed and single women who didn't make a lot of money during their careers, and they are impoverished, and they need more help from the Social Security system. And I will focus on helping those people who need it the most. And of course, I'm going to defend Social Security. I'm going to look for ways to try to make sure it's solvent into the future. And we also need to talk about health care at some time, because we agree on the goals, we just disagree on the means.
In the Congress and some Democrats were talking about cutting Social Security and benefits for disabled veterans through the so-called chain CPI. I founded a caucus called the Defending Social Security Caucus. My view is that when you have millions of seniors in this country trying to get by, and I don't know how they do, on $11,000, $12,000, $13,000 a year, you don't cut Social Security, you expand it. And the way you expand it is by lifting the cap on taxable incomes so that you do away with the absurdity of a millionaire paying the same amount into the system as somebody making $118,000. You do that, Social Security is solvent until 2061, and you can expand that.
And that was it for Social Security coverage.
Okay. One clarification. I don't think Hillary Clinton brought it up. I think the moderator brought it up.
No, she didn't mention Social Security. She was talking about Medicaid, and it was a college tuition discussion where she also brought up Medicaid. And then Hillary Clinton was like, oh, no, Social Security as well.
Oh, okay. Well, in any case, it was not that to me, and again, with the usual disclaimer that I'm on Team Bernie, that was a disappointing answer to me, because she did not answer the question whether she was for expanding Social Security. She said this is an idea that was first surfaced by the people who want to cut Social Security, that will cut Social Security benefits, but will increase it for people who are extremely poor. What that would do, if you don't lift the payroll tax cap, is that would mean that middle-class people, not the wealthy, but in a regressive tax, middle-class people are lifting people out of poverty. That's not the way we fund anti-poverty programs in this country, and that's basically a non-answer on her part. She basically did not say, I would expand benefits for all recipients, which is what Bernie Sanders is for. So she ducked the issue altogether, and the fact that she brought up that idea, the fact that she ducked the issue, the fact that she brought up the Republicans want to privatize it, which is not on the table right now. These are all the answers that Democrats give when they don't want to stand up and fight for Social Security. So I was very, very disappointed with Hillary Clinton on this issue. On the upside, she was better than the Republicans. And I understand you have some information about the Republicans there, too.
Oh, heavens. Yeah, Republican candidate John Kasich. Is it Kasich or Kasich?
Either one is fine with me.
All right, let's go with John Kasich.
It's Kasich. It's Kasich.
Kasich, okay.
I believe, yeah.
Well, he spoke at an event at the University of New Hampshire about his plan basically to gut Social Security, and ended up laughing off the fact that he planned to slash benefits. So here he is.
How many of you know what your initial benefit is going to be? Leave your hand up. How many of you know
talking to the
what
audience
your initial
here.
You actually know. Do you know too? But nobody else in this room knows, because we usually don't know. Now, what if I told you your initial benefit was going to be somewhat lower in order to save the program? Would that drive you crazy? Or would upset you? Okay, well, you'd get over it. And you're going to have to get over it.
Adorable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lovable. I love jokes about taking money away from elderly women who are trying to live on $750 a month. It's a knee slapper every time. Also, by the way, the whole logic of John Kasich here is insane. What John Kasich is really saying is, do you know exactly to the dollar what's in your wallet right now? Good, because when I take half of it, you're not going to care, are you? Because I'm a pickpocket.
How are you going to notice? How are you going to notice?
Right. You won't know that I picked your pocket and took half your money, so I'm going to do that, and it makes it morally okay, right? I'm John Kasich.
And
I'm running for president.
Friend of the show, Christy Setzer, was on just a couple weeks ago, and she mentioned that he was one of the ones who scared her because he kind of comes across as reasonable, and it seems like in this moment he kind of let his guard down, and that slipped away.
Yeah, it's like the scenes in They Live. I was just reading an interview with John Carpenter about that great movie, They Live. And so when you put the glasses on and you see the aliens that are really aliens, that was a glasses on moment for John Kasich.
I guarantee you're the only one who makes that connection. John Kasich.
That's why I make the big buck. Next.
All right. So last week we talked about Kevin McCarthy. He had gotten into some hot water and possibly lost his chance at the speakership because of comments that he made insinuating that the House Benghazi investigation was intended to take down Hillary Clinton. Duh, but he was just honest. 2 news stories this week back that up. First up, a former investigator for that committee, Major Bradley Podliska, claimed that he was fired for urging a thorough, nonpartisan review of the attack in the embassy in Benghazi. A statement from Podliska's team stated, quote, "My nonpartisan investigative work conflicted with the interests of the Republican leadership, who focused their investigation primarily on Secretary Clinton and her aides. Trey Gowdy and others involved with the committee questioned the account and claimed Podliska was actually fired for his egregious attacks on Clinton." So it's kind of this weird match of who was meaner toward Clinton as the one at fault, which is funny to me.
Yeah, I still feel there might have been other elements to Kevin McCarthy having to move on, but Major Bradley, obviously, the moral here is that Major Bradley Podliska hates America.
Oh, sure.
Why does he hate America is the question. No, I mean, look, these guys, this is a partisan witch hunt. It's ridiculous. And it's time for Republicans it's going to be fascinating when Hillary Clinton testifies next week, because if she's on her game at all, this could be a winning moment for her.
Mm-hmm. And he actually wasn't the only one. There was, what is this guy's name? Representative Richard Hanna of New York, who he admitted on the show called Keeler in the Morning. It's a show that I've never heard of. But he also admitted that the committee's work is something of a sham. Let's take a listen to him.
I think that there was a big part of this investigation that was designed to go after people, and an individual, Hillary Clinton, and I think there's also a lot of it that's important that we needed to get to the bottom of this. But this has been the longest investigation, longer than Watergate.
Oops.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you a couple things about Richard Hanna. It's funny that you mention him. Richard Hanna is a representative from my hometown, Utica, New York. I grew up with Richard Hanna.
Oh, yeah?
I went to elementary school with Richard Hanna. His father was a wealthy, kind of eccentric inventor who tried to make these toys called Hannamobiles. I think he had a brother who was mayor, or maybe Richard was mayor or something. But the Hannas, although they're conservative, they have this political defect. They're actually pretty honest people. And so Hanna, had a moment where he just had to admit this thing was ridiculous. Now, I haven't seen Richard Hanna or any of the Hannas since I was 9 or 10 years old. But there you go. There's no value in that story at all, but I told it anyway.
No, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So he's
older than me. He's even older than me, so he doesn't even care.
How is that
I think
possible?
anymore. I knew his little brother. I didn't really know him that well.
All right. So next up, in a fight to stay relevant, Rand Paul this week, who is still running for president, he live-streamed himself for an entire day. The camera followed him around through breakfast, through stumping in Iowa, visiting the baseball diamond from Field of Dreams, and answering some pretty uncomfortable questions. Here's a haggard-looking Rand Paul, and to be fair, a little notice, it gets a little bit salty, so if there's a child listening, go ahead and cover the ears. Here's a haggard-looking Ron Paul responding to one of the top Google searches for his name.
The third question, most popular question from Google is Rand Paul still running for president? And I don't know, I wouldn't be doing this dumbass live streaming if I weren't. So yes, I still am running for president. Get over it. Where is Rand Paul in the polls? This is not live. We can't edit.
Well, yeah, that's a moment of candor. And I think the problem, though, when he says, I'm still running for president, get over it, I think the problem Rand Paul has is everybody has gotten over it, except Rand Paul. So what you still running is not the kind of Google search you want to find. So the really dumb blank thing about Rand Paul's candidacy is not the live stream, it's the fact that he's running.
Yeah. And as someone who has cut his teeth recently, live streaming, I do not cotton to that slur upon video live streaming.
No, but it applies in this case.
Oh, indeed. So all right, we got time for one more. You want to go fun, or do you want to go kind of also more fun? Okay,
let's go fun.
Well, Tuesday saw a bombshell in the publishing world, but this time she has her clothes on. Playboy, the iconic and groundbreaking magazine, announced that they would no longer feature images of nude women, instead focusing on the articles and merely scantily clad women. It is done in part to broaden the magazine's demographic appeal and also an acknowledgement of how thoroughly the internet has changed public tastes. Interestingly enough, it may be as much about foreign markets. Playboy reportedly generates 40% of its revenue from licensing its brand in China, a nation which forbids pornography.
Now, this is a story that is well out of my area of expertise, he hastened to add. But I would say, from what little I know about the topic, that this may be the first time in history that people are telling the truth when they say, I buy it for the articles.
That's very true.
Yeah.
All right, and that's all
and
we got
I guess
for today.
that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Right? Okay, so we will be right back after this. That's our Breaking the News with Brad Herring. We will be right back. I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.